My name is Dr Amaleena Damlé. I'm an Associate Professor in French in the School of Modern Languages and Cultures at Durham University. My research and teaching is focused on 20th and 21st century literature and philosophy in French, and I work on material from metropolitan France as well as around the French-speaking world. Well, I have a particular interest in questions of embodiment. So in other words, how we experience our bodies, how we relate to them, how we understand them, and also crucially how we represent them to ourselves and to others in conceptual and literary forms. And that's really been at the crux of my interest in literature and philosophy. And my first book, The Becoming of the Body, looked at representations of the female body in literary works by 4 francophone authors, and in that I asked questions about how these authors mobilise bodily forms that resist, exceed and transform conventional, normative or perhaps static ways of thinking about the female body that persist into the present day. So I'm really fascinated by how literature and philosophy can help us to think differently or to rethink assumptions, prejudices, stereotypes or fixed ways of thinking about gender, sexuality, race and ethnicity. So my current research is a British Academy funded project. It's called Eating the Other, Ananda Devi and the Politics of Consumption. And in it I look at representations of food and eating in novels by Ananda Devi, who is, she's an award-winning contemporary francophone writer who was born on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Even though my work is very contemporary and I'm very interested in contemporary issues and stories of food and eating that are very contemporary, there lurks within that a sort of a longer history of appetite, and it's an appetite that's bound up with the history of empire, colonialism and capitalism. And I was lucky to be able to spend some time in Mauritius last summer conducting some field work. So in the project, which will develop into a book, I look at representations of food, which features quite prominently in Ananda Devi's literature, and I look both at everyday instances or everyday acts of eating, so acquiring food, preparing a meal, sharing a meal with family, but also I look at extreme acts of eating or indeed not eating, so fasting, hunger strike, anorexia, overeating, cannibalism, and I'm interested in how these different ways of relating to food, or rather what these different ways of relating to food can tell us about this sort of longer and wider history of global consumption. Working in French at Durham is fantastic. We're one of the largest French departments in the country, which is wonderful because it's a very exciting place to work. Our students really have a real wealth and breadth of expertise to draw on, and they can really forge their own pathways because of that, because they can select the topics that appeal to them. All of our teaching is research-led. Finding ways for students to bring the material that we're studying into contact with the fabric of their everyday lives. So what is, we're studying something quite specific in a poem or in a film, but how do we relate it to the context of our own lives? How do we make it relevant to our world? I think my advice is to be curious and read widely and read, engage with the culture of the language that you're interested in. Any kind of cultural engagement is wonderful. So read widely, be curious, keep asking questions.